English learners, and welcome back to English with Rose. I'm so excited to have you here today because we're diving into a topic that almost everyone loves movies.
And today's topic, well, it's all about learning English with movies.
I mean, who doesn't love a good movie night? Might as well make it a learning experience too, right?
Right. So, first things first. When you're talking about a movie, you almost always start with what kind of movie is it?
And that's where genre comes in. And it's genre, by the way.
Yeah, one of the sources really emphasized the pronunciation. It's not genre, it's genre, almost like genre, but with a softer Z at the beginning.
Like in measure, genre.
Exactly. And think about it. Knowing the genre kind of sets you up for the whole movie, doesn't it?
It's like a little hint about what you're about to see.
Like a roadmap. Is it going to be action-packed?
Yeah.
A tear-jerker? You get a sense of the themes, the mood, even the kind of vocabulary you might hear.
So our sources gave us a whole bunch of examples, like westerns, of course, cowboys, the Wild West, all that.
Then there's action. Those are always fun. Lots of, well, action. Explosions, car chases, yeah, you know the drill.
Animated movies, cartoons. Those can be great for English learners, especially beginners, because you have the visuals to help you understand what's going on.
Sci-fi, too. Science fiction.
Yeah, all about futuristic stuff, space travel, aliens. A lot of the big superhero movies fall into that category.
And then you've got your comedies, your dramas.
Yeah, comedies to make you laugh, dramas to make you think or cry, sometimes both.
And then there are those subgenres, like chick flicks. Those are usually romantic movies, often aimed at women.
A lot of emotions, maybe some tears involved.
On the other side, there's the bromance, all about the friendship between guys,
Mm-hmm.
often pretty funny.
And then rom-coms, of course, combining the best of both worlds, romance and comedy.
Our sources also talked about documentaries, where the focus is on real-life events and information.
And historical films, which can take you back in time.
And who can forget horror? The movies that are designed to keep you on the edge of your seat.
So just knowing these basic genres can actually help you with your English.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you know you're watching a sci-fi movie, for example, you might be prepared to hear words related to technology, space travel, things like that. It's like a little mental warm-up for your vocabulary.
Now let's move on to what happens within that genre, the actual story. We call that the plot.
The sequence of events that make up the movie.
One of the sources pointed out that instead of just saying the story was good, you can say it had a really well-developed plot.
Or the plot kept me guessing the whole time.
Right. And then there's the cast. This is a word we use to talk about all the actors and actresses in a movie.
So you could say, the cast in that movie was phenomenal. Everyone was so talented.
And when you see the list of names of everyone who acted in the film, that's the cast list.
But if you're talking about a specific actor, like, oh, she was fantastic in that role, you would say she's a member of the cast.
And of course, those actors are playing characters, the people within the story itself.
And you usually have your main character, also called the leading role or the protagonist. That's the character we usually follow the most closely.
And then you have the supporting roles, who are still important to the story, but they're not the central focus.
And sometimes these actors get recognized for their work with awards.
Like the Oscars, for example. And that's where the word nominate comes in.
To be nominated means to be chosen as a possible winner. So you might hear, he was nominated for Best Actor for his role in that film.
And how an actor portrays their character, that's their performance.
You could say, his performance was so convincing, I really believed he was that character.
Or her performance was a bit flat, I wasn't really feeling it.
So now we've got some basic movie terms: genre, plot, cast, characters, nominate, performance. But how do we add a bit more detail to our descriptions?
That's where adjectives come in. Those descriptive words that help us express our opinions more clearly.
So for the cast, you might hear described as an all-star cast or star-studded.
Meaning it's full of famous actors, big names. You could also just say it was a strong cast, which usually means the acting was really good overall.
When it comes to the plot, things can get interesting. You might describe it as complicated.
If it's really hard to follow, full of twists and turns, you could even say intricate.
Like in the movie Inception. That one had a really intricate plot.
A plot can also be gripping or intriguing.
Meaning it really keeps you engaged. You want to know what happens next?
Like Edge of Tomorrow, that was a pretty gripping film.
But on the other hand, a plot can be boring, predictable, or tiresome.
Someone mentioned Bad Boys for Life as an example of a movie with a predictable plot. I guess they weren't that impressed.
And then there are the characters. You have your main, central, or principal character, all words for the same thing, the most important character in the story.
Tom Cruise's character in Edge of Tomorrow, for example.
And then supporting characters, the ones who aren't the main focus but still play an important role. And of course, fictional characters, the ones that aren't real.
Like Thanos. He's a pretty memorable fictional character, that's for sure.
Definitely.
But let's get to the main reason you're here. How can we actually use movies to learn English?
Well, one of the great things about movies is that you get to hear real, natural English.
The way people actually talk, which can be pretty different from what you learn in textbooks.
And you're learning passively, too.
Just by watching and listening, even if you have subtitles on in your own language, your brain is still picking up new words and phrases and getting used to the rhythm of the language.
It's like soaking it all in without even realizing it.
And since you're watching something entertaining, you're more likely to stay focused and actually learn something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's important to choose movies that are appropriate for your level.
Don't try to jump into something super complicated if you're just starting out.
You might get frustrated and give up.
The key is to find movies that you enjoy so you can relax and have fun while you're learning.
And if you really connect with the movie, you might naturally start to memorize some of the lines or catchphrases.
It happens to me all the time.
So how can you use movies to learn English based on your level?
Well, if you're a beginner, animated movies with subtitles in your native language are a great place to start.
The pronunciation is usually very clear, and the visuals help you understand what's going on.
For lower intermediate learners, you can try live-action movies, but still with those subtitles in your own language.
As you get more comfortable, you can switch to English subtitles. That way, you're reading and listening at the same time.
And for advanced learners, try watching without any subtitles at all.
The ultimate challenge.
But no matter what level you're at, don't worry about understanding every single word.
Even if you only understand 20 or 30% of the dialogue, you're still getting valuable exposure to the language.
And the most important thing is to enjoy yourself.
Make it a fun part of your learning process.
We covered a lot today, from different genres and plot types to all those industry terms and tips on how to make movie watching a part of your language learning routine.
And remember, this whole deep dive was designed for you, the kind of person who's always looking for the most effective and enjoyable ways to learn. Think about all the vocabulary we talked about today.
The next time you watch a movie, see if you can use some of these new words and phrases. You might be surprised how much more you notice and understand. Happy watching.